Three, two, one. Oh god, I got fucking beer on my mic.
Already?
Yeah, it like splurted. But welcome to the Trailer Park Podcast. This is episode 4 or 5. I have another one recorded. I'm not sure if I'm gonna release that first or this one. We'll see. But this episode is with Carmen. Do you go by Carmen and Weiss? Or do you go by Beanwolf? What do you do?
My tag's out there, but like I've always been like, you know how I'm a strong believer in that there are tag people and name people, and
Mhm.
I've always been a name person.
Yeah, it's like you
Um,
have a tag, but people call you by your name when they know you.
yeah, everybody always just calls me by my first name, just calls me by Carmen. But I do have my tag Beanwolf out there, but never really use it. Never comes up.
Yeah. But so a little introduction to you is, you're very much into the Weiss scene currently. Like that's your scene of sorts. Uh, when it takes up your free time. That's how I'd put it.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and you make a lot of content surrounding it and everything, which is I think gonna be our main topic talking today, but you are also, you play it competitively. You've done well in it competitively. You've traveled for it. So we'll kind of delve into all of those things. And we're going to just talk about like content creation in general, I think, because I don't know a lot. We'll get into Weiss because I know how to play Weiss. I've played Weiss. I've been to a Weiss tournament or two, but I don't know. I feel like I've really fallen out of it and I don't know anything.
hmm I mean, it's a pretty niche game. Um, For people who don't know what Weiss Schwarz is, it's a trading card game published by Bushiroad. They also make Card Fight Vanguard. And they did Buddy Fight in the past, if you're
Oh,
familiar with those.
yep.
Yeah, so it's by that company. And then it is a sort of a collaboration card game where they take different anime and game properties and they create standalone sets from those properties. And then you build decks based on that one set or property, and then you fight them against other properties. And that's like the general like explanation of the card game.
Yeah. And it
It is
was
definitely like a third string card game. It's not as big as like Yu-Gi-Oh or Magic or any of those.
Mhm. But it's interesting because it was initially very like anime focused, but it's really kind of gotten a hold of other properties as of late.
Yeah, English got like Adventure Time, Batman Ninja. We got Ruby coming out soon. It's pretty interesting. What they've been doing lately. But yeah, it's just it's all in that same theme, right? It's just you take your favorite media property and you slam it into your other favorite one. So
Yeah. Hey, you got this one thing. I'm gonna put on a card.
mhm.
But when it comes to so we didn't meet through Weiss or anything like that though, but we met
Absolutely
through
not. No.
a very different thing called Super Smash Brothers Melee.
What a
Uh,
game! What a game
yeah,
that is.
what a
It's
game that is.
20 years
Uh,
old.
yeah.
This is insane.
And we met so we've known each other since 2016, but we first met, I think, in 2015 because I played you in pools at a tournament when I was still in high school.
God, that's so
Yeah,
long ago.
yeah,
Oh, I feel
it
so
was
old.
it was Fight Pit 5.
Jeez. Okay. All right.
Yeah, we I'm trying to remember. So there was some Falco like in our pool. I can't remember his tag. Like, there's like I'm trying to think of like any other signifier of like someone who would have been in our pool who would have been like noteworthy.
To be honest, Hunter, I like barely remember. Like, there's just so many tournaments, so much.
Oh
Like,
yeah. Well, I mean, it
because
was
like, well, we
uh,
both did that, right? Like, we both ran stuff, and that was kind of how we got to know each other better.
yeah,
Because
because
we were both like streaming, we're both running tournaments.
hmm
Because for people who also don't know, like Hunter and I also ran like a lot of tournaments and streamed a lot of stuff around the time. Like I mostly did it down at Pitt,
hmm
with the Pit Smash guys. really grew that scene over the time that I went to school there, down at the University of Pittsburgh, in collaboration with a lot of other people like Kofi, Bambi, Andrew, Brian, like a lot of those people.
Mm.
Obviously Bears fan who like invented it. Like Hunte was there as well. Like Hunte's always there at the beginning of everything.
Gosh,
He's the progenitor of
Hun-
Smash. Yeah.
yeah, Hunte just exists somehow in space. Uh, but yeah, I kind of came in towards. I feel like the not the tail end. It was more like the mid. It feels like the mid
Point of like the
season.
Pit Smash stuff. Yeah, like the middle of like as Pit Smash was really starting to take off. Like I think most people in the Smash scene remember the fight pit where Mango and Mewtwo King fought each other in like a completely empty room because like we were being thrown out of the venue and
Yeah,
stuff like that. And like
that was one
that's
of the
when we
first
really started to
tournaments I
catch on.
watched on. That was one of the first tournaments I watched on Twitch. Um,
Yeah, it was
and
insane.
that's what. So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna. I want to go to the next fight pit, and because I ended up going to Shape 5 or something, whatever.
Oh God, that was a tournament series in Ohio, huh?
Yeah, and
Jeez, the shape of melee. That is like a shout out to Josh. Uh,
oh yeah, what is his
yeah, like
last name?
Josh Lozar. Yeah,
Yeah.
Josh Lozar.
So
Yeah, like
my first fucking like tournament. I think it was my first tournament, not in my hometown, and like maybe I like went to one weekly when I went to my uncle's in Indianapolis, but my first like actual tournament, I go to that, and I walk up to my pool, and I check in and everything, and someone taps me and like, hey, you want to play our pools match? It's fucking Armada, and
yeah, I remember that tournament. That Shape of Melee where the Mango and Armada were there. It's just a random tournament in Ohio,
yeah,
and
it
Mango
was.
and Armada are at this tournament. That
Oh
was like the wild west of like new Smash. That
yeah,
around that time, like Shape 5, Fight Pit 4, Fight Pit 5, like that whole like timeline I think was when Smash for us really started to blow up because like I along with Bears
because
fan, um
like 3DS
and
was about to come out.
Bears fan like Hunte, April, a couple other people, we made the Man on a Ledge weekly series around that time. And I remember that
Oh
tournament going from
yeah,
like 10 entrants a week. That was our like Melee weekly. It went from like 10 entrants a week to like 20, like 30. And around this time, we're like consistently getting 60 plus people on a Friday at Carnegie Mellon University in these random classrooms, like running tournaments. And Smash just started to like become absolutely insane. Like, and I was there. I was a part of it, and was I'm really honored to like be a part of that like sort of Smash history in Pittsburgh. Just like being there at
oh
the
yeah.
beginning for all that stuff, and like we ran the stream. Like, if people don't know the Pittsburgh Smash like YouTube channel that has like an ungodly amount of content. That
It's
that
more.
is mostly like the stream that I helped put together is like a lot of that content. And then people took it up after me and
Mhm.
like a lot of that stuff. That was like my first step into content creation as we like shift to this topic was like streaming for Melee, and we do that every week. We do it for big tournaments. Started to get more into it. Started to like actually create like some overlays and try to like cultivate like a community of streaming tournaments. I like also like streamed and helped run Techo, which is like the Pittsburgh local anime convention for all their events. That was sort of like my first step into content creation was
and
with that.
and like event production.
Yeah, like event planning, event running, like tournament organizing. Like it's different now. Like I feel like I say TO, but like TOs for card games, it's like a joke. You go to
Yeah,
challenge, you put people in a Swiss bracket and it runs. Like running a Smash tournament, a double elimination bracket is like an actual undertaking and a skill that you like begin getting better at. And like shout out to all the new TOs in Pittsburgh now. I mean like Gumball and there's a bunch of other people who are currently taking it up that are doing really well.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that Gumball's now like the old head sort of person at it at this point.
Yeah, it's insane. I feel bad because like I don't know a lot of the people that go to New Mole because like I haven't been there. We went to one on like a random week recently just to like see how it was, like post COVID to see how it's gone, and like the tournament's still firing, and like people are really like taking up the mantle
I was
and
about to say, I feel like
doing an awesome job.
yeah, I feel like now like it should start to pick back up. It like it's so sad because during COVID, like Pit Smash Club like completely died. It sounded like, um, but I kind of want to go back to what you said about how you guys started creating the overlays and everything. My process when I started like even in Bradford when we started doing weeklies and I like got the equipment and everything to start recording or streaming and everything, I quite literally would see mole stuff. I would take a screenshot of like a mole VOD and just cut out the gameplay and the webcam, take your thing and like use it as a template to make my own overlay. Because I had never done graphic design or anything like that before. Uh, to like build all of my shit when I was first getting into like streaming, content production sort of things. And I also like because I think you would like posted somewhere about your setup at least a little bit, and
Oh, on
I
my blog, you're talking about the the pedal board stuff that I did like
even
a while
before
ago.
that, no, like I
Before
think it was
that, like even
yeah,
farther back.
even farther back because it was like this was before we had even met because you did the pedalboard stuff after we met.
That was a long time ago. That was
Yeah, yeah, this is
relatively at the
like
end of my streaming career. This is like far, far back.
yeah, this is
Okay.
like far back. This is like hard to remember back. Like this is like I was in
Oh,
high
are you talking about the
school.
stream guide? The
I
stream
think so.
guide, like the
Yeah, yeah,
document? Yeah, there
yeah,
was like a Google Doc where there was a stream guide on how it's like
yeah. I read that.
Beanwolf's guide on how to stream good and how to do other things good too.
Yeah,
It was a
yeah, yeah. So
Zoolander joke. Yeah, okay, I remember. I remember now. It's been such a
yeah,
long time. That is
yeah.
a thing I made.
So that's how because I have we have an old YouTube channel for we had a weekly series called like PA Smash or just Panty Smash.
I
Um,
remember that. Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and there's not a whole lot of odds on it because I had when I was in high school, I had garbage internet up until like my towards the end of my senior year because I moved, but I had garbage internet and just could not upload VODs. But I would record a lot of shit, and stream when I could. And then but then after that, like I would I I like started recording events and like going I did a lot of just random I take my stuff to pit events. I took my stuff to like a random Neo event to some random Neo events. I did a Fredonia tournament. And then I think after that is when I started to take over like the either semi takeover or just fully take over like pit events.
Mhm.
Uh
Yeah, yeah. I remember you would because at that point I was like I was on my way out because like if you don't know like for people who don't know how like melee streaming works is like you bring all this equipment to events. You're the first person there. You're the last person to leave. Like no one can really help you because your setup is so specific. Like it's always like a pain to like get set up and tear it down because you got to tear it down the right way so that you can set it back up faster the next time. So like people can't really help you even though they want to. And then even after the tournament, you get these people. I always post the joke of the hairy image of the like you got the people
yeah.
who like the tournament's been over for an hour, and these people ask you where their VODs are because like Gimmer like created a culture of the VOD being available like almost immediately after the set was over because he was insane. He would like cut the set immediately after it was over and then upload it, which
Well
was
yeah,
like
he's
an extra like ultra premium feature at the time. Like you have to understand, this is before OBS was like a full featured product. This
yeah,
is
we're
back when if you wanted to stream, you were paying for a premium XSplit subscription, and like Gimmer would use this like premium feature where you could cut off and upload the VOD at the same time as like you're still streaming. And
mhm.
like that made people expect you, the like neighborhood hometown streamer, to be able to do this. And like I
Yeah.
can't tell you how many Facebook messages I got like an hour after this tournament ended where I just want a beer and a permane sandwich. Like and to go back to my dorm room and crash and like these people are being like, "Where's my VODs? I need to see how I got three stocked by Jigglypuff or something." I don't know. Like
Yeah.
but
I I also like I'll be honest, towards the end of like when I was streaming for Pit Smash, it was annoying when I y- it's streaming for Smash, like it's not like a lucrative thing.
it's
Um
not no.
and I very much geared my stream setup to being very like user friendly so that anyone could like very, pretty much I worked with people where I was like, "Hey, I want it. I want this to be like I set it up. I can figure it all. If there's issues, I work on it. I will run it during top eight, top 32, or like top 16. But like during pools and stuff, like I'll run it when I can. But I'm not going to be with it like 24/7 unless it's like a major.
Yeah.
Because
Because we
it's
were
like
also players. Both
yeah,
me
we're
and
also.
you.
It's like
Yeah.
there's no point in me sitting at this thing forever for like this small regional, and especially when I've made it so cookie cutter that anyone can do it, and then sometimes like Tio's getting mad at me because I'm like off getting food or like at a I'm not from Pittsburgh at the time, and I'm still not. Like I'm driving 3.5 hours. Like what I'm getting paid for doing the event is like paying for me to get there and back to where I live.
Yeah, you did get paid. I have never,
I got
not once, not a single time in all my content creation in any game, whether it's streaming, whether it's making Weiss content, anything, I have never made a red cent off any of it. I've never even thought about it. Like it's never even crossed my mind. Like why did I even get into streaming? Because I just wanted to do it. I thought it'd be fun. I thought it'd be a community thing. Like it's the same
Mhm.
thing for like Weiss content. I didn't
I
like
mean
sit down
that's
and be like, "Oh, I'm gonna like make this like like a pseudo career, like a side gig." Like and everybody's like, no, I just want to make content with my boys. Like, I just want to get on there and like talk shit about cards, like for a couple
right.
hours, and like, make a whole thing out of it. And it was the same for Melee. I didn't even think about ever like profiting on it. And then like now, it's so funny to think about because like this was like pre Twitch boom. Like,
Oh yeah.
it's like insane. It's just like, this thing that I was just kind of doing because it was fun and like we were like moderately successful at like people do this now as a career, so it's like it's just kind of wild to think about. Like I've literally never thought about making content creation like for
Well,
money. It's never crossed my mind, like not a single time. And you were mostly
that's
just getting compensated for like driving your shit down, right?
oh
Like
yeah.
driving down and setting up. Yeah.
I had like one well like for fight pits I got a bit more mostly just to buy like equipment. Um
Yeah.
because it was like, my setup, I mean, especially now cuz like my excess income goes into uh I like to make quality stuff when I make content. So like I have a nice camera. I have like when I mean my peak like streaming setup for Melee was like I had GoPros and they each attached to internal capture cards and like they're 720p 60 FPS like and I had lights and everything.
Yeah. That's way more than I ever did for that. I always did webcams for
I mean
player cams. Like
those Logitechs are like perfectly good. Like I mean
yeah,
it's
C270s just run off
yeah.
USB extenders. That was like literally what I did. And then because I dumped my money into, I was very like insane and like particular about squeezing the best recording quality I
Mhm.
could out of a 20-year-old children's party game, which is
Yeah.
really, really hard. So like I've owned every capture card that's ever existed at least once. Like
Yeah.
up until I stopped streaming. I think I have owned and worked with every single card to a certain point. And now I
Mhm.
look in my box and I have like a single dazzle that I'm too like attached to it to get rid of. It's just like a piece of absolute garbage that I'd
Oh
never use.
yeah.
Like I
I
can't get rid of it. I can't bring myself to get rid of that thing. And then
I
I have
still
like
have.
an AverMedia Extreme that's for
I
HD content.
Oh yeah, I still have my one Black Magic. I sold one because they're still fucking.
I sold
I,
mine to Laurel because she was doing content.
yeah, I mean, it's still Black Magics are still like one of the best things you can record melee with.
Yeah, yeah, because they don't have any lag. So like when
Yeah,
you're making melee content, especially for streaming, because it's tournaments, right? This is like highly
mhm.
competitive content that's being streamed live. You can't introduce any lag or like weirdness to the setup. For a long time, I was like trying to pioneer like the HD setup with a bunch of other like melee community members. There was a lot of back and forth with that because like this was a point where like CRTs we were starting to like worry about CRTs being available in the future.
Mhm.
So we started like playing around with like different capture cards, different like HD converters, even this to try to find things that had like no noticeable lag. And the black magic for this kind of stuff was king because the black magic, coincidentally, I don't even think it had anything to do with the actual product. I think it was like a very coincidental like engineering thing where like something in the capture card was just like good enough to not introduce any latency when it would
The
rip
encoder in
off
it is
like a
just crazy.
480p. Yeah, it had like the best like hard encoder that you could get. Like again, Hunter said it like to this day, the Black Magic like shuffle or whatever is like one of the best things to record melee because it doesn't introduce any lag.
Yeah. The only other difference I would have made with my setup is there is like some I could never find it for like a decent enough price. There was some type of thing I was looking for like some kind of converter that cuz the only problem with a black magic is the specs it's if you like if your USB like bus power ever like gets a little
Oh
finicky
God,
or like your
I
data.
remember these. This is some nom flashbacks, Hunter. You're
Yeah,
giving me some.
I'm getting
Yeah,
terrible non flashbacks because you like I you because for any kind of streaming setup you have a lot of shit plugged in, and that's using a lot of bus speed and everything, and you're just just got a little too much shit moving at one time, and there's a flicker. And you're like, whoa, and it's like,
like not only that, but like unironically power. Like
yeah,
I remember having to buy like externally powered USB hubs to
yeah,
like run these setups, and then you get into these crazy problems. Like people who are in audio or like audio video production probably know what this is, but have you ever heard of a ground loop?
I fucking hate
Where
ground loops. Yeah,
yeah, like a ground loop is like a thing that can cause an audio buzz in the
I
background of your content, and it's infuriating because you have to buy, those cheater plugs that you can buy at like hardware stores where you turn
no,
three-prong things into two-prong things.
yeah,
You have to plug everything in your setup into like ungrounded plugs to get rid of these ground loop like
mm,
feedback problems, and then your entire setup is ungrounded. Like I
yeah,
remember literally ripping ground plugs like with pliers out of like three-prong things. Like I would literally take pliers when I was at a tournament and I needed to plug something in, and I would rip the ground plug out of an extension cable with a pair of pliers just to get rid of ground loops at tournaments.
something
Like
I despise are the Behringer USB mixers. They are the worst audio mixer devices because they are the most susceptible to like audio buzzes of like any audio
yeah,
mixer I've
the
ever
worst.
fucking worked with. I use a Focus right now, and then because it's a Behringer sucks because it uses a USB cable into the computer and then it has an external power source which causes a loop most of the time. Like it causes some weird kind of loop.
Shout out to
And
Goggles. Goggles gave me a soundboard. I don't know what it is. I don't even know. I
I think it
definitely still have it. I don't think I got rid of it unless I gave it to you. I can't remember.
no. Whatever
You're the
you
only
were
person.
using,
Yeah.
what whatever you were using, I think it was a Behringer, but it wasn't a USB one,
It
and
was
you
not
just
USB. It was an audio only. Like it was just XLR in out. It was audio only because the laptop that I had like a Sager Clevo, like like quote unquote gaming laptop or whatever, and it did have like
audio
for
in.
all of the scam that they are, they do have like good audio in and out support.
Yeah.
So
What's this Focusrite thing is nice because I just have uses USB-C for power and like data transfer, and it just plugs into my computer, and that does like phantom power and everything as well. Um,
yeah.
like what was nice about the way I got around the Behringer at least a little bit was the fact that I had those Audio Technica like broadcasting headsets,
Oh
and
yeah, I had those too. Yeah. Okay.
they're those things are fucking just amazing. And when it comes to microphones and everything, it's like for some reason I compared to like everything else, like I could just get around even like audio hum issues with using those with like modifying shit. I don't even know. It was a very weird, but I definitely it got to a point with the Behringer. Like I have this like very uh well built like power strip thing that's supposed to be it's supposed to completely nullify ground loops, and I think I've plugged my Behringer in it and it still has some kind of hum, and I'm like
Yeah.
done with this thing, done with this
Again,
fucking
I
thing.
can't stress this enough. Nom flashbacks, dude. Like
Yeah.
to literally like I'm like crawling under tables with a pair of pliers and like I can't stress this enough. Unplugging extension cords, ripping the ground plug, so the third plug
Yeah.
off of the like thing, plugging it back in, and then like getting up from under the table to check the like buzz and if it's still there, and then like going to find another cable. Like absolutely insane shit. Like I do not miss that part of streaming at all.
Yeah. That the stress of streaming, like just something going wrong. Because I remember like the worst thing was the flashing of my like black magic. The first time it did that was at a fight pit. Like
Yeah, like when it happens at big tournaments and like something terrible happens, and like it's not just technical error. That's like someone's like set.
yeah.
And then like
And it,
the people, you don't want people like playing on stream to think that that's like a liability, right?
yeah. I remember it was a bait too. He was playing like, and I'm just like I don't, oh god. What we I feel so let's get off the stream monkey talk because we've been hammering that, but like it we could go on for days about that because it's just there's just
Yeah.
so much when it comes to like we both did that for so long, and I
Streaming,
mean
yeah.
I feel like I would have kept doing it to some extent if COVID didn't happen. Just
I think it's
because
a
like
blessing, Hunter.
well
I'm
yeah
gonna be honest. I've wrote about this a bit. I think that like getting out of streaming was one of the best things that ever happened to me, I think. I think that I put so much time and stuff in it. I really miss the forest for the trees for a lot of things.
mhm,
'Cause it's a lot of work, it's a lot of effort, it's a lot of nonstop go 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 because
yeah
like you're moving. And I remember like my like sort of last thing, and we mentioned this before, was like I made that pedal board where like I got so sick of trying to set up and tear down stuff for like the weekly that I literally pre-wired all my connections and like velcroed everything to a piece of particle board. And I would bring these two particle boarded things, and even that made it hard because it turns out it's like I wrote like custom software for these overlays and stuff like that. And at the end of the day, like no one can really help you with that kind of stuff. So
yeah
then you have to choose like between playing the game and making content, and like I just can't
mhm,
like I can't like ever make that choice or
yeah
whatever. And like again, shout out to everyone who's ever tried to help me and all the people that are like now running Mole and stuff like that. Like I know like Violet, like new TOs and stuff in Pittsburgh. Like shout out to all of you. Like, you guys do amazing work. Please continue that. Continue the thing we built into infinity. Take ownership of it. Um,
Yeah,
Mole's absolutely insane. I can't believe it's as successful as it is.
I'm
I'm
definitely gonna
always so proud to see that.
I'm gonna try to go to a mole at some point soon. It's just I was hoping they like it's just so hard for. I was talking to Gumball because I was like, hey, when is there gonna be like a bigger thing, like a weekend thing? Because like I can't really go to a mole. He's like, it's hard as hell to like get Pit to or like CMU or
Do
anyone
anything, yeah.
to do anything bigger. I was like, yeah, that makes sense. But so tell me, like, what kind of content do you make for Weiss exactly?
Okay, so yeah, I guess we'll bring it back to this. We've gushed enough about streaming and stuff. So content that I do now. So for Weiss Schwarz, I make mainly meta focused, competitive focused content. I do know that there are people out there that are more casual that have told me that they get a lot out of our videos, but that's never like my aim. There's a lot of other Weiss Schwarz content creators, so we kind of just try to stay in our lane and do what we're known for, which right now is like set reviews and deck profiles are like our big things. We pump those out very consistently. We go up every Friday with new videos on the channel. Channel is just PGH underscore Weiss Schwarz. All quote unquote one word, PGH underscore Weiss Schwarz one word. Out on YouTube. Our set reviews are all long form podcast style content. They're over an hour long usually each, and like Weiss has 4 colors, like similar to Magic colors. Like, so we do the set reviews like by color. So if a set's 3 color, there's 3 like 1 hour plus long videos. There's 4 1 hour plus long videos. They get really long because we really dig into like each card. Because a lot of the things with Weiss is like it's a game that moves really quickly. I always talk about if you've ever played Hearthstone or digital card games, you know how the meta is figured out like that, like super quickly.
Mhm.
Um, because the game moves really quickly and a lot of people are playing it. Weiss moves really quickly on new content releases because content being like new cards, new sets that come out. Because the set has like very like defined shells that you want to play. Like think like Yu-Gi-Oh archetypes, right? It's like you're not
Yeah.
playing like Dragon Maids mixed with something else very frequently, right? Like it's you're playing Sky Strikers, you're playing Dragon Maids, you're playing stuff like that, you know.
Mhm.
So Weiss is very similar because like you're also contained to one set, so like things are
Yeah.
figured out like really fast. So a lot of the time, the only times that those cards are going to get talked about, the cards that aren't like that, if people like to be like brewers or want to do something spicy or something like that, the only time they're going to get talked about is in a set review like
Mhm.
that. So we like really dig into every card, and we're inspired by some other like stuff like that, which I could talk about later. But it's mostly meta competitive focused content. Is like that's really our lane, and we do try to stay in it and just make more of that kind of content.
Mhm.
Um, and we have a lot of people we collaborate with and have on as guests and things like that. Try to keep it fresh, like along with our core cast. We just did the thing that we always do as Pittsburghers. We just slap our city on something and call it our branding.
Hey,
It's
I
pretty
mean,
effective.
if it works, it
That's the
works, you
Pittsburgh
know?
way. You slap black and gold on something and you put Pittsburgh in front of it, and now that's your branding. It's simple and effective. We've been doing it for years. So
So the people you work with for your content for the like at least your main content are located in Pittsburgh.
yeah, so I work with the main 2 guys that are on pretty much everything with me are my boys Andy and Brian. They're on pretty much everything with me that we can, and then we loop in other people from our local scene when they're like passionate about something that they care about, something that they want to talk about. And
Okay.
then we bring them on, which is really fun. Whereas like our boy Tanner, who is newer to the scene, he started playing because Hololive, like VTubers, I'm sure you're aware of
Hmm.
VTubers. Hololive got a set, and he started playing Weiss about 6 months ago because of uh like the Hololive set. So when it came time to review the Hololive set, since it got announced for English, we only really set review stuff that comes to the English side of the game.
Right.
Um, because other channels do. JP again, staying in our lane here. We brought him on to sort of set review it with us and stuff like that, since he's like done a lot of research and things like that, which is always fun. Sometimes we bring on people who are lore masters, like we brought on our boy Paul Clinton for Batman Ninja, because he's the only person on Earth that's watched that terrible movie.
Oh,
So
so he actually knows things about Batman Ninja. I thought it
yeah,
was just a
So
meme.
I'd be like, oh, tell me why this card is named Catwoman Battle on the Big Boat, and he'll be like, oh, it's because there was a battle on the boat, and I'll be like,
Yeah,
okay, sure,
makes sense.
like
Yeah.
stuff like that. And then we also loop in other content creators from like other channels and stuff like that when we can. Like we have a bunch of rotating guests, people that we like having on that make good content, because they're podcasts. It's like there's a vibe. There's like people who you like have a good vibe of making content with, where things are like entertaining, things flow very well. So we have people back on and things like that, which is always really fun. But again, I gotta stress it's competitive focused content first. Competitive like deck building, like theory crafting content.
I was
Yeah, go ahead.
you've been playing competitively for what, about 2.5 years now?
2.5, 3 years. Yeah, I haven't played Weiss for very long. Weiss Schwarz has been out for about a. Is it a decade? I don't know.
Holy
It's been out in
shit! I
Japan
didn't.
for longer. It's been out in Japan for longer. The first sets, I think, around 2013, 2014. Why? I'm actually going to Google it. Like Weiss Schwarz English first set. I believe it was like Madoka and Disgaea were the first sets that came over, and I believe those are like somewhere between 2012 and 2014, around there. But the games existed for longer.
Oh my god!
It's older than anyone thinks.
Seeing
But it's around like
2008 for, I don't know if that's Japan.
that's probably Japanese. Yeah,
First
I think the first English sets were somewhere between like 2012, 2013, 2014.
Yeah,
But
so
I started
almost
playing in
10 years.
2018. And I found the scene, the Smash stuff, by someone I knew through the Smash community. Attended tournaments, them and their brother, and I went to my first tournament that I knew through them. And after like going to one and be like, oh, I don't have anything to do the next week. I'll go to the next tournament. I'll go to this. I'll go to that. You start
And it
falling in
just,
love with the game, and then it's all downhill from there. That's how
yeah, then you end
anyone
up
falls into
locked
anything.
outside of my house.
Oh yeah. So
Yeah.
for those of you that don't know, Hunter used to run a esports team called Critical Hit Esports, of which I was a member for Weiss Schwarz. It was just kind of a joke, right? It was kind of like a
Yeah. It was
joke thing, because he sponsored
you
Melee players. Like,
yeah. I'll give a little quick blurb. Like, I had a small esports team, very basic. Like, I offered what I could to players to assist them in some way. And only local, like Pittsburgh players for the most part. There was a few exceptions to people who were slightly outside of that area. And, and then Carmen just asked me, he's like, hey, sponsor me for Weiss Schwarz, because I think you had won like a pretty good size like regional or something at the time.
I placed for what is it? There's two formats for Weiss Schwarz. Well, I say formats; they're not really formats. There's the English side of the game, and there's the Japanese side of the game. The Japanese side of the game, which is untranslated Japanese cards, are the only things that are legal. And then the English side of the game, they're cards in English. They're sets that are brought over. Since Weiss Schwarz has a bunch of licensing stuff, there's obviously a lot more sets in Japanese. There are 3 to 4 times as many sets in Japanese as there exist in English. It's insane. Japanese gets somewhere between 2 to 3 sets a month, and English gets 1, if they're lucky, per month. So the game moves at like light speed in the Japanese side. And for the Japanese side of the game, I qualified for nationals at a tournament in Ohio, regional tournament in Ohio. So after that, I was like, Hunter, I qualified for this thing. Sponsor me for Weiss, like as a joke. Like just let me say I'm CH, like critical hit Beanwolf at
Yeah.
tournaments. It'll be funny.
And then you realized that you would have to drive like right through my town to get there. So you stayed at my house before it.
Yeah. So for nationals, it's in Rochester, New York. So I had to drive out that way, and Hunter's on the way. So I was like, Hunter, this is like really early in the morning, and like I don't want to drive all the way there because it's like a 4 or 5 hour drive, really early in the morning. So can I crash at your place and then like drive out there, and then
Yeah,
like depending on what happens, I'll either drive back or whatever afterwards.
I gave you the crit flag.
You did give me the crit flag, yeah, which was funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did end up like winning nationals, which is like the joke there. I did win nationals. JP format NA champion.
Yeah, it was
Uh,
great. It was
it was
so
really
great.
funny.
It was so funny because he won. I was already asleep because it ran over, right?
Started at 8 a.m. I can't stress this enough. Nats is like the worst, one of the worst tournament experience I've ever had in any game. Like you're in Hammer Girl anime, which God bless Luke and everybody who works there and runs the store and everything. But like, Jesus Christ, there are like 100+ people in this store. It's like a shoebox, and you're just jammed in there, and it's smelly, it's gross, it's takes forever. You're there from 8 a.m. to I think 11 p.m. is when it ended. It took forever, it was all day, and like there was no time to like go and get food or something like that. I went to like a supermarket across the street and had like a backpack full of Cliff Bars, and that was like my like sustenance for the day. It was like Cliff Bars and energy drinks. I just dumped a bunch in my cart beforehand and just went over there. Um, but I did end up winning that event, which is really funny. I got a free flight to Japan, which is the only prize that you can win in Weiss Schwarz, is a free trip to Japan in
But they
either
know
format.
that they're like, hey, if they're playing Weiss, they'll take it.
Yeah, exactly. So like a free flight to Japan, it's like it's a somewhere between a $600 $800 value. So not
Yeah.
looking to gift horse in the amount or anything. And that was an amazing trip. Flew out to Japan after that. Um, had an amazing time, met a lot of amazing people, competed in worlds, did not win worlds. It's I ride or died the deck that I played, which was not a good meta pick at the time. For as much as I love Summer Pockets, it was not an ideal pick. It was not an ideal pick for the meta at the time. I should have borrowed someone's 8-bar Fate or Psychono. Um, Fate being Fate Stay Night. I should have. It was literally offered to me multiple times, but I stubbornly said no and played Summer Pockets anyway, and it did not go well. It was a really bad pick. The deck
Hey,
was already rogue to begin with. So
sometimes the heart of the cards you lose, but you stuck with it. I can see the Umbreon box that you grabbed for me from my desk.
oh yeah, that's right, from the Pokemon Center, yeah.
Yeah,
But
I fucking
so
love
like
that thing.
going back anyway, I gotta put Hunter
Yeah,
on
yeah.
blast for this
No,
one.
no, no, no,
So
no, no. I'm telling this.
after
I'm
no,
telling
okay,
this.
sure, go ahead,
So
Hunter.
okay,
After I won Nats, what happened?
so Carmen wins Nats, but he wins Nats. I am asleep. He has already told me earlier in the day, like, yeah, I'm just driving straight home. Don't worry about it. Like, no
Because I think I'm
problem.
gonna scrub out. I think I'm gonna scrub out. Like, there's no way that I can win
And
this tournament.
I'm a Zoomer, so I have no ringer on my phone. And I'm asleep before 11 p.m. And you know, I will also say that is one of the first times ever my front door has been locked.
Yeah,
and
it was real bad.
and so Carmen driving home. I will tell your part because I remember it very well. Carmen wins at 11 p.m. Starts driving through a terrible rainstorm
About to become a snowstorm.
that's becoming a snowstorm. Gets to my home. He's trying to call me the whole way down, but I'm asleep and my ringer is off because I'm not expecting him to call because I just was not in any way expecting like I was assuming he was driving home. Uh like
Which is
and
partially my fault because I assumed that I would scrub out and lose because I had only. You have to understand, at this point, I had played Weiss Schwarz maybe a year at most. Maybe a
yeah,
little under a year by that point. I had been like grinding it and stuff like that, but like I think that was my third tournament ever. Like my third bigger than a locals tournament ever that I'd ever gone to was nationals. So like I was not expecting that. So I told Hunter multiple times, like, I'm probably gonna lose. I'll drive back. It won't be that big of a deal. Like as long as I can leave here by 9 or whatever. Like
And
I get home by 1 a.m. It's okay. Like
and if you were to take the more direct route, you would have completely bypassed Bradford because it would have taken you to like Buffalo and shit.
yeah,
So
exactly.
I was like, oh, I'll be fine. Like I don't need to like turn on my ringer. I feel so bad that you like. I could
It
just
was
picture
at
you
this
at
point
my
it's just
door.
funny. Well, and the other thing is like I'm on cloud 9. I have like ultra adrenaline. Like there is no way like I could ever sleep like after that
Oh
happening. I'm
yeah.
like I'm like rolling. You have to understand. I'm like rolling down the highway, every window on my car down because I still had my WRX at the time, flying down
Oh
the road at
yeah.
like 100 miles an hour, trying to outrun this like rainstorm becomes a snowstorm. Like it's not really raining. It's like it's about to start snowing or whatever, and I have all these windows down. I have the sunroof down. I'm like blasting a podcast, and I'm just like, "Yo, let's go!" Like screaming, driving down the highway like 100 miles an hour, just trying to get all the way home. I did get home without issue,
Yeah.
and my phone broke. I had to go the next day and buy a new phone. that was that was funny. But yeah, that's the critical esports. Carmen wins Nats and gets locked out of the Hunter's house. His most successful player ever, locked out of his house after winning.
Well, we'll see how Polish does at
Oh yeah,
Smash
Polish is a
Worlds.
god. Yeah,
Yeah, we'll see,
Polish is a god. He's your most successful player now. That's for
well,
sure.
if he does, as long as he doesn't get sponsored before that event, I can claim every. No,
Because
I
now I'm not even sponsored by you anymore, Hunter, and I'm on
oh,
Burn One now. I'm on a real Weiss Schwarz
yeah,
team.
yeah,
That's the
exactly.
Burn One.
Oh yeah, I forgot you are like you do have like a legitimate sponsor.
Yeah, I do have a I do have a real Weiss sponsor.
Uh,
For as real as it is for a game like Weiss.
yeah.
But
Uh, it we'll just chalk up me locking you out of my house to you locking me out of your house at one time, and
oh,
Paul having to come picking.
that did happen, huh?
Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
man, I guess that is it. Eye
yeah,
for an eye. There you go.
yeah.
There you go.
Uh,
What do you? What can you do?
what can you do? Uh, so this is like just a random topic, but I do remember I saw a tweet. I remember you mentioning something about this at one point, but like Bushiroad like forcing events online or something, despite like a lot of other
Yeah.
like it. What's that all about?
Oh, so Bushiroad has been running events since COVID, exclusively online. Let me tell you, online card games over webcam is like the worst thing ever. I
Yeah,
hate it. I loathe it. Like especially in a game like Weiss. If you've ever played Weiss before, you know how the game works. It's a lot of the RNG is a lot more in your face. I don't think it's any more debilitating to like your actual decision making and stuff than it is in other card games like Magic or Pokemon or whatever, but it's much more in your face because the way you take damage is by flipping cards off the top of your deck. And like if you see a specific type of card of which you can only run 8 of, called climax cards in your deck within those top cards where you're taking damage, that damage is canceled. And it's sort of like a deck building game where you're trying to like thin out your deck as much as possible so that you don't take as much damage. That's like the game. So when you play that online and people are shuffling a lot, it just becomes like it starts to devolve. Like even when people aren't actually cheating, it's just impossible to enforce because you can't shuffle your opponent's deck or other things. So it's really like tilting over the course of like a long online event where like you're shackled to your desk that you're playing these online events for like hours a day. And they're just like the worst feeling things ever. So now for the most part I usually volunteer to like judge for these online tournaments rather than play because like personally I loathe them. Um they're like just they bring out the worst parts of the game for me that I just hate, which is like doubt and like just poor sportsmanship and things like that. Because it's a card game. Like in all card games, it's unbelievably easy to cheat, and the payoff is so high So it's like that's why you have judges and like officiation and stuff like that, and those things kind of break down in an online environment. So I just personally do not like online, and it's been 2 years of this now in terms of events where they just don't have online events. So like, and these, or they don't have in-person events, and like other games like Flesh and Blood, which is a brand new game, is having in-person events with thousands of people and like no problems with COVID because like people are vaccinated and stuff now. Like it's not
Yeah,
an issue. Like Yu-Gi-Oh is starting to bring back in-person events. Pokemon bringing back in-person events as well. They're having pre-releases and stuff like that.
it,
Magic, like
it
the SCGs and whatnot. Like it's just really frustrating that we
you
have
just have
no announcement of in-person events returning for either format, for either English or Japanese. So it's like it's very frustrating. It got to a point where there was a recent product and announcement stream from Bushiroad, and they didn't announce in-person tournaments, and instead they did nothing but talk about their like existing online tournament that's happening soon. And I was like, oh my god, it's like you guys are cowards. Like I can't deal with this anymore. Like these other companies are like at least for NA running something. Because like the thing with Bushiroad is they are a global company, and even for the English circuit, when you win, again, the prize is a flight to Japan. So if the world's not open, there's no prize to give. But there is a circuit of events that they run called Springfest that does not have a prize at all. You're only playing for the love of the game and bragging rights. Because all Weiss Schwarz official tournaments are free. They're all free by design. They're all free to enter. Everything. There are no buy-ins. There's no
oh
venue fees. There's
wow.
nothing. Everything is free. So
Ugh.
for their Springfest being free and there not being any prize, I really hope that like something happens this year for Springfest, which is between like March and May and June is when Springfest occurs, which are trios, they're teams. You play on a team of three, you can't bring the same anime on a team. So it's always pretty fun. And those don't have a prize, so you don't have to worry about, countries other than the US being open and being able to run events. Because in the US, you can run events. You can go to concerts, you can do all sorts
Yeah,
of stuff. Like even if you got to be masked, if you got your
you
vaccine
can
and
at least
everything, you
do
can go.
something. Yeah, I was about to say
Yeah, so
like
it's just a lot of frustration because online events for this game are so miserable, in my opinion. And it's not just me. A lot of people find these online events really, really miserable. We're just all kind of sick of it.
yeah.
So I
I
kind of blew up on Twitter there a bit.
I mean I completely understand. Like it should be you would think they would sort of, do it country to country sort of like a lot of if you can like you said, we're doing concerts and everything. You can enforce, vaccine rules, masks, everything. Like melee events are happening, smash events are happening. Like, uh, and I've gone to 2 concerts in the past few weeks, no issues. Like very good process of getting in. People wearing masks and everything. Like I've had and no COVID scares or anything from it. And I don't know. I like there's just this weird like I don't see the reason why people are so hesitant. I understand why people are hesitant because they could be scared of they're scared of COVID still and everything, but it's like you can't let that completely derail everything because um you know if you're vaccinated and you're going and doing things with other vaccinated people, like your safety, like you're safe. Like allow people to go out and do this. I guess is how I would put it.
Mhm. Yeah, it's just frustrating that nothing was announced. So we
And
just
I
uh we
playing
just kind
card
of
games
blew
over
up.
webcams, like at
We
least
do that for fun and like
yeah,
playing people outside our scenes. Like I'll like hop online or something like after work and be like, "Yo, anybody want to grab a game or two?" And flip on the webcam, point it at my playmat, and we'll play a couple games with people that I know and that I trust. Which is the
yeah,
problem when you're playing in a
exactly.
tournament. It's open entry. You people you don't know, people you don't have any sort of rapport with, people you expect to be trustworthy and honest. But again, I can't stress this enough. Anyone who plays card games knows it's unbelievably easy to cheat to the point where you need to know how people cheat so that you can guard yourself against people trying to do it. Like shuffle tricks, cutting tricks, things like that.
Oh yeah, and it's
You need
like,
to be super aware of that stuff if you play card games competitively to be able to combat it. And
mm,
online, you can't do anything. And they've tried so many little things like put your cards in 3 piles and number them 1, 2, 3 or stuff like that. And then like that's really unenforceable either because like webcams can be mirrored and this, that, and the other thing. What if they
oh
just
yeah,
misinterpret it? And then you have like ruling and judging issues and stuff like that. It's just a whole mess. Like that
yeah,
I personally am not willing to deal with anymore. Which is why I just judge or help run the events now. Since online events are also a pain in the ass to run and officiate. So I help out with that now instead of playing. Just because like they personally like I am not a fan of online
Weiss, like
events.
Weiss especially is like the game where like shuffle tricks and everything, like because of how much shuffling and everything you're going to be doing, like can get you an advantage and everything.
Yeah,
Uh,
if you thought Yu-Gi-Oh was in its deck a lot,
yeah.
Weiss
Oh
has
my
like
god.
three
Yeah.
different zones, and you're in them just as much as you're in your deck in Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of the game actions going on.
Well, and if you're gonna like the when it comes to Yu-Gi-Oh, if you play Yu-Gi-Oh online, I mean, if you're gonna play Yu-Gi-Oh like through a computer, there's more than enough online versions of Yu-Gi-Oh to play it online, like digitally, instead of playing it with actual cards. Where with
Yeah,
Weiss, like it, and
there's
like
nothing like that. Yeah.
yeah, every other major card game has a digital version where Weiss doesn't. Um,
Yep. Yeah.
and
It's
it,
it's just a whole mess.
yeah, it does just sound like a mess. It and I'm just hoping that gets better for that because it's like I don't know. I've met a few of the like Weiss players from Pittsburgh and everything, and they do just sound like they like. I mean, they really like the game, and it's a fun game, and it's kind of a it's interesting because it is kind of a amalgamation of you know people who like anime, people like card games, and like you know there's a lot of people who like both of those things, and Weiss is kind of that this perfect mesh for them
All
sort of
gone.
deal,
Yeah. It's
and
um it's the best part and the worst part about the game that there's anime on the cards.
yeah,
Yeah, it's the best and the worst part at the same time.
and that can really bring out just the best and the worst people.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, everybody who's been to a convention knows there are some people with some opinions that as a more competitive player, it becomes really hard to like reconcile or understand where people are coming from sometimes. Which is
Mhm.
again like with our content, we really do stay in our lane because it's like I know at this point I'm so far removed. Like me as a person, like my enjoyment of anything that I do as a hobby is like about developing a skill and like getting better at that skill for the most part. I think like the only thing that I do nowadays that's not like expressly enjoyed through that is like Dungeons and Dragons.
Mhm.
Like that's like the only thing that I do with my time that's like a purely enjoyment, like no drive to quote unquote get good, get better kind of thing is that. Everything else is like if I'm playing Weiss, I'm trying to get better. I'm trying to figure something out. I'm trying to like perfect the deck list. I'm trying to like tune a strategy. Like I'm always trying to get better at something because it's just like who I am. So it's like
Yeah,
it's really hard to
that's an
reconcile with like
interesting.
people who just they're just like oh I just want to play like this or whatever and I go like oh like that doesn't losing suck but I mean like it's
That
Weiss like you can always win or
yeah.
lose the card game it's like the thing people don't understand about card games right is you got to have like a real strong mental it's not even a game like Magic where the
Oh
variance is
yeah.
made a lot lower by the mechanics of the game where
Mhm.
like in a best of 3 in Magic the better player will win like a good amount of the time but like Weiss is best of 1 for people who don't know about Weiss. Like even Yu-Gi-Oh
Oh
is.
god. Yeah.
So Weiss is best of 1, and the game, like with RNG being in your face more often, you have to be ready. Weiss is a lot more similar to poker than anybody wants to admit. Like you can make the right decision statistically every single time, and you can still get like sacked on the river, right? Like you can still
Yeah.
lose hands on the flop.
Just throw the deck at the wall and just suddenly something happens.
Yeah, so you got to have a really strong mental to be like, oh yeah, I made the right decision 100%, but like I lost to X%, and you go like, okay, move to the next one, move to the next turn, like it's fine, like these things happen, like, and your win rate at the end of the day, it's more like an online ladder with like if your win rate is 51%, you're doing something right. So like
Mhm.
in Weiss, if your win rate is over like 60% or something like that, you're a god. It's like it's because the game anyone can win the game at any time. Like I always sit down and I say, I lose to anybody. I lose right now. I'm the best at losing. Like, it just happens. You take it in stride and you just keep going. It's not a game where you like win every game, even though you're making the right decisions, which is true of any card game.
Oh yeah, there's
But like
variants.
Weiss, if you try to take like when you start taking it more seriously, I think that the people that are expecting it to even be like Magic or Yu-Gi-Oh, where there's like enough mechanics and in the best of three that the best player does win more often than not. Where when they come to Weiss, I think the game can like chew up and spit out a lot of people and make people really, really salty if they're like not coming
Oh,
in with a good mindset. I think the game tests mental harder than almost any other game I've played.
Weiss is one of the weirdest card games I have ever played, and I played both. Well, I played Yu-Gi-Oh competitively, like extensively, and I played Naruto card game competitively for a bit of time. I played Pokemon Online competitively for a little bit. Um, didn't really play too much Magic. I played a lot of Hearthstone.
Yeah,
Um,
same. That was my first
yeah,
exposure to card games was Hearthstone. Playing in
yeah,
Tespa. I played Hearthstone competitively in college alongside Melee.
yeah. Oh, I didn't know you played Tespa.
Yeah, I played in Tespa with Rob and
Oh, nice.
Andrew. Yeah, yeah, those were fun. We would always bring one of those big PBR 24-ounce like 9 packs or
Jesus.
whatever to the Tespa thing, so we just crack beers and play. That was really fun.
Hey, I was about to say, yeah, that sounds
That
like a
was
good
like
time.
Conquest. If you played Hearthstone, you know about the tournament format. It was Conquest.
Yeah.
Um, and then you could have 3 pilots. So it's Conquest 3 people. So you have 3 people like making sure that you aren't misplaying, right?
Mhm.
And we played during the best meta. Shout out to the patron meta. Patron meta was the best Hearthstone's ever been. The most skill testing format the Hearthstone's ever had, I think. Um, and that was when we were playing at our height, and that was a lot of fun. And I learned a lot about actually like an RNG heavy game like
Mhm.
Hearthstone, right? Because even then, this is pre-Discover, right? This is like
Oh
pre like
yeah.
absolute devolvement of like Hearthstone as a game, where now it's just like a fucking sack fest,
I
where
think
there's just like
I don't even think I played during Discover. I think I got out before that.
yeah, this was like right before like Discover became like a massive mechanic in
Mhm.
the game when we were taking it as seriously as possible. And like before then, even then, the game does have a lot of RNG, and it's about like hedging your bets and like just making the right decision and being okay, like with the result, right? Where
Mhm.
it's just like okay, like the results is like sometimes you take the 80% that you calculated, sometimes you take the 20%, right?
Mhm.
Like you take the 20% loss and you move on. And I think playing a game like that with a lot more in your face RNG really helped me come into Weiss with like a much better mental because like even in like melee and stuff like that, it's like mental's like really important. I think that like
Oh
melee,
yeah.
like melee competitively, I am like a failure of a player. Regardless of like, it's just weird if people hear to say that. It's like I am a failure of a competitor in melee because I literally did quit the game over wobbling, like 100%. I quit the game because I could not deal with wobbling, which was legal at the time. Because I've mained Sheik and I played Sheik for 6 years, and like developing this character for myself and my playstyle and how I play the game and how I'm gonna play all these matchups. And then I run into like a matchup that is like almost theoretically unwinnable, even without wobbling, and then you add wobbling in there where when I fuck up even once I lose a stock. And like I went through like various degrees of like inhaling copium on the matchup. Like I tried to play Falcon, I tried to pick up other characters, I tried to do the easy way out and play Peach, and like I literally just couldn't do it, and I unironically like completely gave up. And like I think going through that, like and then coming into another game, I was like, I'm not gonna let this fucking happen again. And I like came
Yeah.
in with like such a strong mental, and like to this day, I still think I have like a pretty strong mental with Weiss. Where like even things that I hate, like I'll complain. People who know me, I'll complain like at the
Yeah.
top of my lungs till the cows come home. I
Big
will
big
bitch and
complainer.
moan forever, but I will never let it like affect my actual like performance and like game anymore. Like I
Yeah.
will like I used to bitch in melee and it would directly influence my performance. But I'll like complain, I'll be like, this card is dumb, like this is broken or whatever, and then I'll immediately sleeve up that card I just called broken and dumb and like try to win a tournament with it because I know it's the best
Yeah.
option, right? Because like yeah, like wobbling's dumb and lame, right? But like it is effective, right? So if it
Mhm.
really is that broken, you should use it. Like that's the
I
right mentality you should have because the game doesn't like have a concept of lame or like dishonorable, right? The game only knows like win loss. So like you should
Mhm.
do the thing that increases your chances of winning like 100% of the time
Yeah.
every time. Like, and I think that sort of going through that experience and shedding it in another game, especially a game where it's more accepted, right? Like it's
Yeah.
literally in melee, it is more accepted for you to just say, Jigs is lame. Wobbling is lame. I'm not going to deal with this. I'm just going to complain about it and call my opponent bad. And like
Yeah.
all my homies will support me.
Melee loves complainers.
But like in a card game, well, it's funny. Even in Weiss is a game where people get away with complaining and stuff and
Yeah.
calling people bad even when they lose or stuff like that. But like a card game, it is really more discreet. If something is really lame and broken, the best strategy, you should be playing that until it gets
Oh,
banned.
yeah.
Yeah, like
I
you
remember
should be Yata locking your opponent every game until they ban Yatagarasu, right? Like it's like classic example.
I remember back when I played Yu-Gi-Oh, I played fucking Black Wings. And I play like I had like it was people would give me shit for playing Black Wings and cuz Black Wings was just like a very like high meta deck at the time. And, people were like, "Oh, it takes no skill, blah blah blah." And I'm like, then why aren't you playing it? You know,
Yeah.
why aren't you
Well,
playing
people
it?
love to do that in card games. People love to add a financial element to like choices and
And I
stuff
was
like
like,
that. It's like you're a competitor just as much as me. You have access to everything that I do.
"What?"
You
Yeah,
can be playing this. Like it's not me.
and it
Like
was it was very funny because even I wasn't even playing like a full Blackwing deck because of that a little bit because I had only right before I like moved out of where I was living, like where my card shop was, where I was playing and everything. Uh, there was a very like pivotal card to the deck, which was like Blackwing Armor Master, and it's like it was one of the most expensive cards for the deck and everything. I did not have one almost until I was like done playing Yu-Gi-Oh in that time period, and I was still doing extremely well. And I had like a pretty like scuffed Blackwing deck because I kind of had to build one around what cards I had, and people would still give me shit, and I'm just like, and like I
people love complaining about people playing meta and stuff, like
yeah,
quote unquote meta in card games where like there's this like idea of like net decking is like bad and like
it's so
whatever. And
stupid.
like the only people that say that and the only people that think that are like your O2 Salt gang. Like,
Yeah,
like your OX drop Salt gang are the only people that are saying that.
it,
Net decking is like a very important thing for people to have because if you think about net decking, right? If you have a small community of good players, right? And they are, let's say, in a Discord chat or whatever. We'll make it just like this, right? They're in a Discord call, like me and you right
hmm
here, and they are talking about cards, and they're talking about a deck, and they are brewing a deck together, right? They're brewing a deck together, and then they go, okay, this is the best version of that deck. We're all gonna go play this deck, and it's the deck that we've built in this Discord server ourselves. And they go take that deck, and they win a bunch of tournaments with that deck. Those like let's say 3 to 4 people. Net decking is basically that, but on a global scale. And it's what moves the meta forward in a meaningful way for people who don't have that, like immediate, like, focused player, like support structure to be able to see what's good And if you see these decks that are considered good, these quote unquote net decks, these meta quote unquote net decks, and you see these cards in this deck, you have to be able to take that list and be like, okay, why are those cards? Why are these cards in this deck? Why is this card considered good? And even if you're a new player, even if you don't know anything, you start taking these decks, you start sleeving them up, and even if you don't put any thought into it at all, and you're thinking about it and you're playing them, it should start to become apparent why cards that of like similar types are making their way into X deck, Y deck, Z deck, right? And like
Yeah.
that's why net decking is really important. And the people that don't think that they're literally just salty. The people that hate net decks are literally just salt mines.
Oh
Like
yeah. I
there
mean,
is
it's the
building your
same.
own deck or whatever and like being original and like sure, but like the people that are doing that and are like seeing success with it are the same good players and they've just like it's literally just a quote unquote meta deck that hasn't been found out yet. And it was
Yeah.
made in some Discord somewhere by a bunch of other peoples in the same way that I just described. Like,
Yeah. It's just people mad because bad. Like I don't know. You find those people in every community. They're just like because they're stuck in whatever it is. Because I mean, I've never been like in any sort of thing. I've never been like super amazing, like top whatever. Like I mean, the best thing I've ever like top tier I've ever been in was like a speed running a certain game, and now I'm like not even that good at that. Like
stick of
compared to the
truth.
people. Yeah, Sick of
Stick of
Truth.
truth word world record.
Yeah, I'm not even close to it right now, but uh but like I just remember like in both Melee and in in Yu-Gi-Oh, it's like you play this high you play like a meta character or meta deck, you do well, people say things. But then like I
Yeah, people
remember
love to try to undermine your achievements in any way possible.
it's like you might say some like I've definitely been a person to say shit like that at times. But I feel like I've never said it to such an extent, like, that it's like I've never used it to discount someone to, like, an extreme extent, and
Under,
I've never
let me tell you something. As
okay.
someone who got good at something really fast, like faster than other people even in their local area at something that they'd been doing much longer than me. Let me tell you, I have received my fair bit of ire and salt. And I am extremely used to it at this point. I have a
Mhm.
duck's back for this kind of stuff. And you really do have to. I wrote about this. I have like a small blog where I wrote about like competitive theory and like ramblings about Weiss and crap like that. And I do think a lot of it is like people aren't willing to put in the actual like time and effort and work to like get as good as they
Understand.
get as good as they want to talk like they are, right? They want to
Oh,
talk
yeah.
big, but like, and they want to say that they're doing all this stuff, but they're not actually putting in as much effort as
Mhm.
they're touting that they are. Because you really do got to give a lot of stuff up, right? Like when I started getting into Weiss, right? I hadn't picked up a controller in months, dude. I still
Yeah,
only play Weiss or not Weiss. I only play Melee with like
yeah,
on the couch with beers with friends. And like I dropped everything else. Like I don't play single player video games anymore. Like
yeah.
because like
I
I
mean
already Melee already ruined me for video games. We've talked about this before.
yeah.
You play Melee and other video games become like straight up on fun, which is like an unfortunate side effect of playing the best game ever. Uh,
It depends, but
yeah,
I completely understand that sort of philosophy of, like, when you wanna when you want to pursue something and do it well, you do really have to drop a lot of other things. Like, I've really wanted to get into just general content creation on YouTube, and I really have had to drop a lot of other sort of things. And like, I haven't been able. I used to be like, or I my main focus for a long time was straight up just working out physical fitness stuff, like working out 7 days a week, hour and a half, 2 hours a day.
and now you're ripped. Look at it. Look at
No,
you.
I'm
See?
not right now. I'm not
Oh
right
my
now.
god. Sure,
I
sure. Whatever, Hunter. You look
I
great.
yeah, I probably look fine, but like I like haven't been able to work out consistently in months because I'm putting time into like research for this video that like this longer form video that I'm doing. Like I'm
Yeah, you got to give stuff up. I think people aren't willing to. They
it's like
aren't
coming to
really willing to make
grips.
those concessions.
Yeah, you have to cut.
Yeah, they have to come to grips to it. Yeah,
Yeah, if you don't come to grips with it, is what it's like. It's more than just like it's even you have to come to grips with it also because if you don't and you're just like in this in between state, like the result isn't going to be what you want. It's not going to
exactly. Yeah,
you're never going to because that's kind of how I feel like I was with Melee for the longest time. I feel like I was like one step away from committing like enough to it where I would have gotten like pretty good. Like
yeah.
I feel like I was that one step
I've
away
been there. Yeah,
because yeah, it was just like I felt like I was already at that commitment stage, but I wasn't because I was still doing so many other things. I wasn't actually taking the time. But with
I was in school because I felt like I was there at 1.2. And like I was in school, but I don't count that. You can be in school, you can have
oh
your
yeah,
career, you can maintain your relationships. Those are things you never give up. Like when we talk about giving up stuff, we're talking about other leisure activities. We're not talking about like your relationships, your health, your career, your
mhm,
schooling. You never let that stuff go. That stuff always comes first. But like talking about other stuff here, like I at one point, if I wanted to be like power ranked in Pittsburgh and like throw everything I had at Melee, I would have had to stop streaming. I would have had to stop making content for Melee.
yeah,
And that was not something I would have to stop help running tournaments too. And that's not going to happen. I'm in like
yeah.
way too deep for that and too many like this community is counting on me for this what's now like an essential service basically, right? Like we've created this community where people can expect there to be a 60-person tournament on a Friday. Like, somebody's got
Mhm,
to run it, somebody's got to stream it. You know what I mean? Like,
mhm. And
I would have
it's
had
like
to stop doing that if I wanted to be good at Melee. And like, thankfully for Weiss, I don't because of the differences and like the way the games are. I can actually throw myself at Weiss just at Weiss. Like, I can be a player, I can be a content creator, I can be this. It's very different, right? Where it's like if
definitely.
I'm making content about like competitive stuff, like competitive theory, that's directly helping me as a player because
Mhm.
I'm
You're
going out and
making
I'm
it a
talking
part of
about
your
cards.
process.
Well, and I'm also it is a part of my process, and it's like it's also challenging me, right? As I
Mhm.
go through. If I have people on like a long form podcast style discussion about cards, and I'm getting in an argument about a card with somebody, like like we both believe in our opinion, right? Like I'm constantly having my opinions challenged about cards, and I'm
Oh
slowly like
yeah.
I'm getting better at card evaluation as I go, right? Like I'm starting to like it's bettering me as a competitor to also be making content in this way. Where like, like we're all kind of challenging each other on cards and stuff like that. It kind of leads into itself and like obviously like writing and stuff about competitive theory that like you're reinforcing you're putting your thoughts on the page, things like that. Whereas with streaming, it's like a completely different thing from actually playing Melee. Where being good at
Oh
Melee and
yeah.
playing Melee, I have to like play every single day. I got to play friendlies like multiple times a week. I got to grind this out. I got to have this tech. Like my tech's got to be crispy. Like I got to be on top of all my stuff. And then streaming is like I got to sit at my computer and split videos for 4 hours, and then I got to
Oh yeah.
make these overlays for the next tournament and stuff like that. It's like a completely different skill set.
Oh yeah. It's very much different. And yeah, like it makes me think about how for like content, the way I've been doing content stuff, it's like I've really had to reevaluate because I had to take a bit of a break from how I was trying to do things because I took a bit of time off of work because I just hadn't taken any vacation time for a bit. So I took like a month off and I used that and I was like, I'm gonna stream like consistently for long periods, uh, and I'm gonna make content while I do it and do all this stuff and like start my podcast and everything. And I did that, and that was nice. And like I had consistency while I did during that month, and like a little bit after it, and then as I came back into everything, where like I had work and school and everything, it was like I just could not keep up at that because like having to I've just realized if I had just one or the other, like work or school, I feel like I could do it. But having both, it like just screws me. And
Yeah, yeah.
like I've also like I wanted the fitness aspect. It's like my my view of my fitness is like the commitment I want to do to it is more than what most people probably consider. So, and I just every time I try to get back into it, it's like I should try to do it at a like a lesser pace, like less days a week or something, but like my brain just won't let me. And I'm slowly getting myself into like a better schedule, I think. And when it comes to like content and stuff, it's like I'm finally getting like more podcasts recorded. I'm making progress on this longer video that I'm doing. My YouTube channel. Haven't posted it in a month. It's doing better than it ever has for no good reason. Uh,
Oh yeah.
it's
That's always
I
good.
yeah I have one video about someone about a YouTuber called Johnny Harris. And he he makes like documentary style videos, and I actually did a podcast with Luke talking about this a little bit because he makes these documentary style videos, and he like talks very matter of factly and like says very concrete things at times, but he doesn't always and he says certain things, but he doesn't ever like use sources in his videos or like very minimally, and he doesn't ever provide a source list. And it's something that kind of irks me with like video essays at large, and it's so I like made kind of a critique thing about it. And boy howdy, it's both my most liked video, my most disliked and my
Well,
most viewed video.
I love I love the dislike thing because that recently, YouTube. By the time this goes up on YouTube, or I don't know everywhere you post this. By the time this goes up on YouTube or whatever, YouTube has removed
Oh
the
yeah.
public dislikes. Um, I think it's really funny when people get together and like dislike bomb videos and stuff like that. I don't think people realize that dislike bombing videos drives engagement just as much as liking videos.
Yeah, it's just
Um,
counted as engagement.
and if you, as the person who are liking or disliking or something, cared enough about that content to up or down that content, to thumbs up or thumbs down that content, that means that what was said like just drove you enough to engage with it. So if you didn't like it, there's definitely somewhere out there that does like it too. So it's like, it's the classic thing with content creation, right? Where it's like if you have haters, you're doing something right. Like there is merit in that. I know that's something I've had to deal with a lot making content is like if there's a subset of people that really dislike you and your content, you're definitely doing something correctly.
Yeah.
Because there's a much greater majority of people that do appreciate and enjoy your content as well. Which is always great to see. The PJ's Weiss Schwarz channel has been doing great. I remember when I first made the channel, my only real goal for it was for us to be bigger than my personal channel, where the only video on it is the how to hack your Wii video.
Oh my
Um,
goodness.
and when we finally eclipsed that, I was like, "Holy crap! Like we've done it. We finally got there. People do find this content valuable and helpful." And I'm always very 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 appreciative of all our subscribers and supporters. Could never do it without like that kind of thing. I'm always like incredibly surprised how well all our content is received. Because we just do it for fun. We do it because we love the game. We're making content because we love Weiss and we just want to talk about it. Like we're not doing it for anything else. Like I don't know about your opinion on this. Like we talked a little bit about like it in the streaming part where I've never even thought about like monetizing content. Um, I'll never monetize PGH Weiss for it. It never will. Nothing like that. I won't take um like any sort of like sponsorships or things like that on the channel, because the channel is supposed to be like honest, transparent,
Mhm.
and just us and our things, and I don't want to be limited in any way. And even like, there were a couple content creators who got like cards from Bushiroad to reveal for Ruby or stuff like that. Even if I got offered that, like if we got offered that as Pittsburgh Weiss Schwarz, I would have to seriously take that back with like our core cast and like our whole community in general
And like
and be like, do we want to take this? Because if we take this, that means that our ability to criticize Bushiroad or, like be a like completely
would be
transparent
limited, yeah.
news source would be limited and stuff like that. Like we'd really have to think it over. Because I wouldn't want to like completely say we would turn it down. I think my personal opinion would be I would turn it down, but I'm not the only person who is driving
Yeah.
content on that channel. So it would have to be something that we sat down and discussed. But like in general, I am very anti monetization for like content creation for your hobbies. But I know that's like not the common thought these
So
days because of the Twitch boom, the like content boom.
I
Like
am of the
harder.
opinion, it's very weird because I like I very much am of the idea that you can monetize a hobby and still be like you can make money off of a hobby without completely like destroying the essence of it. Um
Yeah, for sure.
and and it's because what it is, I've thought about this a lot because when it comes to there's just so many different things I've thought about, like different hobbies I've had that I've been like, if I really put time into this, it could be like a sort of career thing. And the same with both either content creation or just like I've thought about, running my own business, all these other sort of things. And it's like, would I be comfortable doing this, like monetizing this, whatever it is? I mean, when it I would never feel very comfortable taking like when I look at like a like an ExpressVPN ad or something like that. I don't think I would ever be very comfortable with things like that because of my like knowledge of things like VPN and everything. Because I don't think I would ever feel comfortable pushing a product that I know isn't like as safe as I
Yeah.
feel like they're marketing it. Like it, adds some layer of security, but it's like a band-aid more than anything. Uh,
Mhm.
so like I think there's an amount of integrity when it comes to taking taking sponsorships in general. Uh, I think the way that uh content creators do well to kind of stick to their guns are there's a lot of content creators that just follow like YouTube guidelines specifically. That way they do well with like algorithm plus like AdSense that so that they don't have to take sponsorships. And then they're just making money based on viewership and like retention and everything like that. So it's and I feel like if I ever did well enough on YouTube or Twitch or something, or even just like if I ever did well enough on YouTube, I feel like I would make it more than enough on AdSense where I would just like or I would do like a Patreon where it's like people are, supporting me strictly for like a very strict purpose and I would create content for that strict purpose and only that sort of thing. But I don't know. I think you can do it in with good intentions and like fulfill on those good intentions. I do
It's
think
mhm.
it's hard. It can be hard though because greed is a thing and all that stuff. Like and there's just so many people burn that bridge and it's so common to see.
I think one of the biggest the reasons I haven't thought about it at all is like the size of the hobby that I'm involved in. Like
Oh
back
yeah.
back when I got into streaming Melee and stuff, Melee was so much smaller, and it's
Mhm.
less of like because now there are people that are like making a living streaming and talking and like content creating for Melee, which is wild to me. That's so insane. Like I'm so
Yeah.
happy for them because like that's like a so totally insane thing to be like possible that you can do that.
I
Um,
remember the There was an
Yeah,
event specifically. It was one of the Smash Valleys. I was the like official second stream, and it was, oh gosh, it was like a fucking stacked tournament. And at one point, like I had over like 1,000 views or something ridiculous on like my channel specifically.
mhm.
Uh, Before the time of like what is the term? Why can't I think of it right now? Not partner, obviously. It's the other one.
Affiliate.
Affiliate. Yeah, before affiliate or anything, like, and there was just a lot of like I got like a shit ton of Twitch followers that day and like all this other stuff. And I remember like I got like emails and stuff from like different like esports teams and stuff, like small esports teams obviously, but just a lot of stuff happened, and it was like, wow, this is like, I know this was like one tournament, like, and I knew it was like not going anywhere unless I like consistently was able to like book tournaments and like do things and everything, which I knew with my schedule I wasn't going to be able to do it. But I was like, if I really ran with this, I could probably do something, like if I
Yeah.
wanted to.
Like, and like with Weiss, it's even more different, dude. It's like if your video gets 500, 600 views, like in the Weiss community,
Mhm.
that's like everyone saw it. Like,
Oh wow.
quote unquote, everyone saw it. Game is very small.
Hmm.
Um, and that's just and the amount of people that are in the like competitive minded space that are consuming competitive minded content is even smaller. So if we have a video, like we have our bigger videos where we have had what is it, like tier lists or like meta wrap ups, like for season wrap ups and stuff when like actual events were still occurring. Like our most recent one has like 5,000 views or something like that. That's like insane. That's
Oh
like
wow.
that's like the entire, like, and you think about 5,000 views, like you talk about that for a Smash related video now, it's like nothing, right?
Yeah.
Like, but that for the Weiss community is like that's the entire community. The entire community watched your video, like basically. So it's like it's just never something I've thought about monetization. Um, but it's like I don't know. So that probably makes me very biased in my opinions of monetization, right? I'm
I'm
not specifically anti content monetization. I've just never thought about it because it's never made sense. So when I think about content creation, it doesn't cross my mind. You
I mean,
know?
I think that is where people should come from when it comes to content creation, though, because if you come from a place of I want to make money, it is a bad mindset. And I do say I have the bad mindset at times of like, you know, I have the mindset of I want to make good enough content where I want to have enough people watching my stuff. I want to make good enough content where there's enough people tuning in where I could potentially do this as a full-time job. Am I going to bank on that? Absolutely not. But I'm going to work towards that sort of goal because I know I can do it because I just know it's kind of my competitive mindset. I basically apply that to content creation. I'm like, I know I can continue to improve and consistently get better. So I'm going to keep doing that until I'm like making videos that are, just pulling in viewers. People are enjoying it. I'm having discussions with like viewers and uh, fans of my videos in a sense. I like want to have a community where I can put out a video and just enjoy something that I have made. I've made it for it's like I've made it for people to enjoy, and a byproduct is compensation, not a. It's not why I've done it. It's a byproduct.
Yeah, yeah, I can see that. It's like a much better mindset to have. It's almost basically the same as competition, right? It's like it's about the journey. It's not about the destination. It's like
Yeah.
you gotta try to win, but you're not playing to win. You're playing to learn, right?
Hmm.
It's like the
It
basic mindset.
it's kind of it's a almost forced. I have to think about compensation in some way, basically, because I live in a world where I have to make money.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's and it just my whole the process in my brain is if I am good enough at making content, I could do it full time, which would mean I could make bigger, better content.
Yeah. Yeah, you can like devote more of yourself to it cuz like then you're cutting out one of the things that you don't normally cut out, right? Which is
Yeah,
your career cuz your career is your content. So, that's like the big benefit there.
yeah,
But yeah, I don't
exactly.
know. It's really just not never a thing cuz like I don't know, I enjoy at this point content creation for Weiss is about the same as playing to me. It's all just the same.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, it's just it's a nice it it fills your time. It's a nice hobby. You can still get that sort of competitive itch with it because it's the same process because you're still having to learn and adapt and have you're still competing like you said because you're still talking with people and they're challenging your viewpoint, you're challenging theirs. Uh, Once in-person events come back, you can hopefully start to actually play again, and maybe you can get even deeper into it again. And I mean, I really hope in-person events come back for that. I have a very hopeful look and outlook on 2022 in general. So,
yeah, I do as well. I think it's going to be a good one. So hopefully
yeah.
we do again that.
But I think we'll wrap it up here. We've been talking for a good, I think,
Yeah,
hour and a
it's been
half.
quite a bit. Yeah, I
But it
figured this
was,
would happen. Yeah.
yeah, I did too. It's been a really good time talking with you, Carmen. Just plug whatever you want to plug. Speak it
Okay.
into the
Yeah, sure.
ether.
So we have our YouTube channel, PGH Weiss Schwarz. You can just find us at PGH underscore Weiss Schwarz. You just type in Pittsburgh Weiss Schwarz into YouTube, you'll find us. We put out videos every Friday, set reviews, deck profiles, all sorts of stuff like that. Competitive focused content, like I said.
Okay. Yeah. Well, thank you again.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Hunter. It was great.